You've been patient. You've cried, prayed, and wondered if God even heard you while the narcissist kept winning. Or at least it looked that way. But here's the truth most people never see coming. When you pray from a sincere heart, heaven moves in silence. God doesn't always strike fast. He strikes right. The same person who thought they could play with your emotions, lie to your face, and walk away untouched, is about to face the very lessons they mocked. Karma doesn't knock softly when divine justice steps in. And you won't have to lift a finger. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we finish, you'll understand exactly why your peace was the most powerful revenge. If you've ever felt unseen, this message will remind you that God never sleeps on your pain. So don't just watch. Talk to me in the comments. Tell me your story. And if your faith has ever carried you through what should have broken you, hit that subscribe button, because this space is where we heal, rise, and watch God work together. Prayer isn't about begging God to strike someone down. It's about asking Him to lift you up. When you've been hurt by a narcissist, betrayed, manipulated, and left questioning your worth, the natural instinct is fury. You want justice. You want them to feel what you felt. But that kind of prayer, the one born from anger, keeps your spirit tied to their energy. It's like drinking poison and expecting them to fall. True prayer is different. It's quiet, humble, and full of faith. It doesn't seek revenge. It seeks release. It says, God, I'm tired of carrying this weight. Handle it for me. And that simple shift from fury to faith changes everything. When you pray for peace instead of punishment, your heart begins to heal faster than any form of vengeance ever could. Because peace is power. It's what the narcissist can't steal, manipulate, or fake. Fury makes you reactive. Faith makes you radiant. Fury drains you. Faith restores you. When you pray from a place of peace, you stop matching their chaos. You rise above it. You stop needing to prove anything because you understand that God's justice doesn't require your participation, only your trust. And here's the hidden truth. God doesn't need your anger to bring balance. He just needs your surrender. The moment you stop praying, make them suffer, and start praying, make me whole, heaven starts rearranging everything. Your spirit strengthens, your clarity returns, and the things that once haunted you lose their grip. The narcissist begins to face what they've sown, not because you cursed them, but because divine law never fails. You, on the other hand, begin to see signs of restoration. Opportunities appear. Peace fills spaces that used to ache. Prayer realigns your heart with heaven's order. It turns your focus from the pain they caused to the purpose it's shaping in you. It reminds you that justice doesn't always look like punishment. Sometimes it looks like peace, progress, and protection. So when you choose faith over fury, you're not giving up the fight. You're handing it to someone who's never lost one. And that's when karma, or divine justice, starts to move. Not in your rage, but in your release. It begins in silence, the kind of silence that holds both pain and surrender. The camera lingers on a single figure, head bowed, hands clasped tightly, whispering words only heaven can hear. There's no anger left, no arguments rehearsed in the mind, just exhaustion. and faith meeting in the same breath. This is the turning point, not the moment of revenge, but the moment of release. You see, prayer isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quietest cry that moves the loudest forces. In this stillness, the soul finally lets go of trying to control outcomes and instead invites divine order to take over. The person praying has seen too much, endured too long, and realized that human strength can only go so far. They're not praying for the narcissist to be punished anymore. They're praying for peace, for clarity, for the strength to let God handle what they no longer can. As the prayer unfolds, a subtle shift begins. The energy that once felt heavy and suffocating starts to lift. The heart, once broken, begins to steady. It's as if heaven whispers, "I've heard you. Now watch me work." There's a quiet authority that comes with surrender. It's not weakness, it's trust. And in that trust, things start to move behind the scenes. Doors that once slammed shut begin to open in unexpected ways. Truths that were buried start to rise to the surface. The narcissist, once confident in their manipulation, begins to feel the edges of their control slipping. What they thought they could hide forever is slowly being exposed by divine timing, not human effort. The camera could cut between moments of stillness and subtle divine signs. A phone that finally stops ringing with their name. A sudden calm in the atmosphere. An old friend reaching out after years of silence. These aren't coincidences. They are confirmations. Every unanswered prayer, every sleepless night, every tear that fell into a pillow was seen, counted, and remembered. The protagonist doesn't know it yet, but their prayer has activated a chain of events no one can stop. Not even the narcissist, who once believed they were untouchable. In this moment, the focus isn't on payback. It's on peace. It's on the strength that blooms when you stop fighting battles that were never yours to begin with. The real transformation begins here, in the silence, in the stillness, in the surrender. This is where divine justice awakens. The person who once cried for closure will soon realize they didn't need revenge, they needed alignment. They didn't need to prove their worth, they needed to remember it. Prayer becomes the bridge between the broken and the whole, the beginning of restoration and the end of illusion. This quiet act of faith changes everything, not because it changes the narcissist first, but because it changes you. And when your energy shifts, the entire story begins to turn in your favor. It often starts quietly, so quietly that at first you might miss it. When God begins to move behind the scenes, He doesn't always announce it with thunder or miracles. Instead, He rearranges your world in small, meaningful ways that only you can truly understand. One of the first signs is closed doors. Opportunities, relationships, or situations that suddenly fall apart no matter how hard you try to hold them together. At first, it feels painful and confusing, but in time you realize those doors weren't meant to confine you. They were meant to protect you. God closes doors not to punish you, but to reroute you toward peace. The second sign is truth being revealed. What was hidden starts to surface. Lies that once held power begin to crumble under their own weight. People who once defended the narcissist start to see through their act. You may start hearing things you were never meant to hear before, sudden confessions, slip-ups, or coincidences that expose what really happened. These moments aren't random. They are divine confirmations that God is uncovering what was meant to deceive. The third sign is a strange sense of calm that settles in your spirit, even when your circumstances haven't fully changed. It's as if your soul knows something your mind doesn't yet, that everything is finally shifting in your favor. That calm isn't apathy, it's divine assurance. You stop feeling the urge to explain yourself or prove anything. The storm outside may still rage, but it no longer owns your peace inside. And then comes sudden clarity. That moment when confusion breaks and everything begins to make sense. You look back and realize why certain things didn't work out, why certain people left, and how every painful moment was positioning you for something better. You see the pattern, the divine fingerprints on every detail. It's not coincidence, it's coordination. God was never silent. He was strategic. These are the quiet miracles people often overlook: closed doors, revealed truths, deep calm, and sudden clarity. Each one is a message from heaven, whispering, "I'm working." You may not see it yet, but everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Before the fall, the narcissist always looks untouchable. They walk with confidence that borders on arrogance, the perfect mask of charm, control, and confidence. In the beginning, they make you feel chosen. They shower you with attention, praise, and promises. That's love bombing, their favorite opening act. They mirror your dreams, your values, even your pain, pretending to be everything you've ever wanted. But slowly, the mask begins to slip. Their compliments turn into subtle criticisms, their affection into manipulation. You start to question yourself without realizing they're the ones planting the doubt. That's gaslighting, twisting your reality until you no longer trust your own mind. Whenever you try to talk about how they've hurt you, they flip the script. That's projection. They accuse you of what they're guilty of. They make you feel crazy, overreactive, or ungrateful. And if you try to pull away, they switch roles again, playing the victim, crying that you've changed, begging for another chance, only to repeat the cycle once you let them back in. It's a dance of power and control that leaves you emotionally drained, confused, and desperate for peace. But here's the truth. This is the phase before the fall. The narcissist always overplays their hand. Their arrogance blinds them to the fact that people are waking up. Their manipulation starts losing its magic because truth doesn't stay buried forever. The same charm they use to deceive others becomes their undoing when the mask finally cracks. What once looked like confidence is exposed as insecurity. What once looked like power is revealed as desperation. This part of the story is uncomfortable, but it's real. It's the phase where the audience nods because they've seen it. The fake smiles, the sudden mood shifts, the charm that always felt a little too perfect. This breakdown isn't about hating them. It's about recognizing patterns so you never get caught in them again. Because once you can name the tactics, gaslighting, projection, love bombing, you start to reclaim your power. And that's when the story begins to turn. Because every narcissist's downfall begins the moment their mask stops working. It always happens in a moment no one expects. Not in anger, not in chaos, but in perfect timing. Divine timing. The narcissist has spent months, maybe years, crafting their image. Every smile rehearsed, every word calculated, every lie layered so carefully it looks like truth. They've built a world that revolves around their illusion of control. To outsiders, they seem charming, confident, even generous. To you, the one who's seen behind the mask, there's something else entirely. You've watched them
twist stories, shift blame, and manipulate emotions until reality itself starts to blur. But truth, no matter how deeply buried, always has a way of surfacing. And when it does, it doesn't whisper, it shatters. The moment begins quietly. It could be a conversation, a text message that reaches the wrong person, a slip of the tongue, or a situation they can't talk their way out of. Maybe it's a witness finally stepping forward, or a friend connecting dots that were once scattered. It's never about revenge, it's about revelation. The timing feels almost supernatural, as if the universe waited until the exact second when every piece was aligned. That's when the mask slips. Their words start to contradict, their calm cracks, and for the first time everyone around them begins to see. The performance they've perfected for so long starts to crumble under the weight of its own deception. In that instant, you can almost feel the atmosphere shift. People who once defended them grow silent. Those who doubted you now look at you differently. It's not about gloating. It's about validation. It's the quiet confirmation that you weren't crazy, that what you felt and saw was real. The narcissist's greatest weapon, perception, begins to turn against them. Their charm feels forced, their confidence unnatural. The same smooth voice that once commanded attention now sounds defensive, even desperate. Sometimes the exposure comes through something tangible, evidence that can't be denied. Screenshots, messages, or actions that contradict every lie they've told. Other times, it comes through witnesses, people who finally speak up after seeing enough. And in the most poetic form of justice, it sometimes arrives through public humiliation, not planned or cruel, but natural consequence. Maybe at a family gathering, a meeting, or a social setting where their facade cracks in front of everyone they've fooled. You can see it in their eyes, the flicker of panic, the loss of control. It's not joy you feel watching it happen, it's peace. The truth no longer needs defending, it's standing tall on its own. The most fascinating part is how subtle this divine justice can be. There's no need for shouting or spectacle. The narcissist's downfall often looks like confusion. They scramble to rebuild their image, but the energy has shifted. The spell is broken. Their words don't land the same. Their stories don't sound convincing anymore. The people who used to believe them now hesitate. That hesitation is everything. It's the moment light enters the room. And for you, this isn't about seeing them suffer. It's about witnessing God's order in motion. You realize you never had to expose them yourself. Truth has its own timing. It reveals itself when the lesson is ready to be learned. You see now that every delay, every silent season where it felt like they were getting away with it, was actually divine patience, a setup for clarity. God was never ignoring your pain. He was allowing their rope to unwind. And now, it's run out. This moment isn't loud or dramatic, it's sacred. It's the unveiling of what was always there. The narcissist's energy begins to turn inward. The lies they threw outward start echoing back. Their charm loses an audience. People walk away quietly. Reputation fades, influence weakens, and the person who once played God in everyone's life suddenly realizes they're just human, flawed, exposed, and small. For you, standing on the other side, the emotions are complex. There's relief, yes, but also compassion, because now you see them clearly, not as a monster, but as someone who built a castle of lies and finally got trapped inside it. You don't need to celebrate their fall. Your victory is in your peace. You survived what they tried to destroy, and now the truth itself fights for you. In this cinematic moment, imagine the light shifting, the narcissist standing in a crowd, the mask slipping just enough for everyone to see what you saw all along. There's no dramatic music, no explosion, just truth, raw and undeniable. Maybe someone calls them out calmly. Maybe their own contradictions expose them. Maybe it's their silence that gives them away. Either way, the illusion breaks, and with it, the hold they once had over everyone. Afterwards, the world feels different. The same people who once dismissed your pain start reaching out. They say, "You were right." But you don't need their validation anymore. You've already found it in peace, in prayer, in the quiet knowing that God never lets lies stand forever. The narcissist may try to rebuild, to rewrite the story, but something has changed. The audience has seen behind the curtain. And once truth is revealed, it can't be unseen. That's the real beauty of this moment. Not the fall, but the freedom that follows. Because the truth didn't just expose them, it liberated you. You no longer carry the weight of proving what happened. You no longer need to explain, to defend, or to beg to be believed. The truth spoke for you, and that's more powerful than any revenge could ever be. In the end, the narcissist's mask doesn't just crack, it disintegrates under the light of truth. And what's left is silence, the kind that feels like peace. You don't look back in bitterness, you look forward in gratitude, because you now understand something they never will. That the real victory doesn't come from destroying your enemies. It comes from allowing truth, timing, and divine justice to do what only they can do. And in that sacred silence, you finally breathe free.
It often starts quietly, so quietly that at first you might miss it. When God begins to move behind the scenes, He doesn't always announce it with thunder or miracles. Instead, He rearranges your world in small, meaningful ways that only you can truly understand. One of the first signs is closed doors. Opportunities, relationships, or situations that suddenly fall apart no matter how hard you try to hold them together. At first, it feels painful and confusing, but in time, you realize those doors weren't meant to confine you, they were meant to protect you. God closes doors not to punish you, but to reroute you toward peace. The second sign is truth being revealed. What was hidden starts to surface. Lies that once held power begin to crumble under their own weight. People who once defended the narcissist start to see through their act. You may start hearing things you were never meant to hear before. Sudden confessions, slip-ups, or coincidences that expose what really happened. These moments aren't random. They are divine confirmations that God is uncovering what was meant to deceive. The third sign is a strange sense of calm that settles in your spirit, even when your circumstances haven't fully changed. It's as if your soul knows something your mind doesn't yet, that everything is finally shifting in your favor. That calm isn't apathy, it's divine assurance. You stop feeling the urge to explain yourself or prove anything. The storm outside may still rage, but it no longer owns your peace inside. And then comes sudden clarity, that moment when confusion breaks and everything begins to make sense. You look back and realize why certain things didn't work out, why certain people left, and how every painful moment was positioning you for something better. You see the pattern, the divine fingerprints on every detail. It's not coincidence, it's coordination. God was never silent, He was strategic. These are the quiet miracles people often overlook. Closed doors, revealed truths, deep calm, and sudden clarity. Each one is a message from heaven, whispering, "I'm working. You may not see it yet, but everything is unfolding exactly as it should."
Karma is not a slap from the universe. It's simply the echo of one's own actions returning home. It's not about cruelty, punishment, or revenge. It's about balance. The energy you send out through your words, choices, and intentions eventually circles back. For the narcissist, that truth is a hard one to face because they've spent so long believing they could outrun it. They think charm can hide deceit, that manipulation can mask intent, that lies can rewrite reality. But karma isn't fooled by appearances. It doesn't rush, it doesn't shout, and it never forgets. It waits, patiently, quietly, until the time is right. Then it returns, not as wrath, but as consequence. Karma isn't emotional. It doesn't come with thunder or lightning. It simply delivers the lessons people refuse to learn through compassion. For the narcissist, that means finally experiencing the emptiness they once projected onto others. They start to feel the isolation they forced on you. The same lies that used to destroy reputations now unravel theirs. The same manipulations that used to control others begin to turn against them. It's not a curse, it's a mirror. Karma shows them, piece by piece, what their actions truly created. And the beauty of it is that no one needs to interfere. No one needs to wish them harm. The universe handles what's due with precision and fairness. You see, true karma is about accountability. It's life's way of restoring order after chaos. When someone operates from deceit for too long, truth eventually calls them back to balance. That's not vindictive, it's righteous. It's the divine law that keeps the universe from collapsing under injustice. Every cause meets its effect. Every seed meets its harvest. The narcissist's karma isn't an external punishment. It's the internal breakdown that happens when falsehood can no longer sustain itself. They built a life on illusion, and illusions always collapse under the weight of truth. And while their world begins to unravel, something else happens. Your peace grows. That's how you know karma isn't about revenge. It's about release. You're not watching to see them suffer. You're witnessing the balance being restored. The energy they took from you is finding its way back, purified. The same cycle that brings them their lessons brings you your healing. It's the divine exchange of justice, subtle, fair, and unstoppable. When you understand karma in this light, you stop waiting for dramatic payback. You stop checking if they're miserable. Because karma isn't meant to entertain you, it's meant to free you. It teaches that the universe doesn't need your anger to defend you. Your only role is to step out of the way and let divine order flow. When you stop carrying bitterness, karma works faster, cleaner, without resistance. So no, karma is not a slap. It's a mirror, a teacher, a law of alignment. It's what happens when the truth finally catches up to deception. And while the narcissist may call it bad luck or betrayal, you'll know what it really is: the natural unfolding of justice arriving right on time.
When karma begins to unfold and the narcissist starts to face the weight of their own actions, it's tempting to watch closely, to track every fall, every moment of exposure. But this is the most important time for you to stay centered. Because while their chaos rises, your calm must deepen. This is where your real power lies, not in reacting, not in gloating, but in standing firmly rooted in peace. Staying centered doesn't mean you're indifferent. It means you've grown wise enough to protect your energy while the storm passes. The first step is to keep your boundaries firm. Don't re-engage, don't explain, and don't defend. Narcissists often panic when their control slips, and they'll reach for the same old tactics: guilt trips, manipulation, emotional bait. Recognize it for what it is: desperation. You don't need to prove your peace to them. Every time you refuse to react, you reclaim more of your power. Boundaries aren't walls of bitterness, they're gates of self-respect.
Keep them locked where they need to be. Next, avoid reacting emotionally. It's easy to think, finally, they're getting what they deserve, but that mindset pulls you right back into their frequency, the same energy you worked so hard to escape. Instead, breathe. Observe without attachment. Their downfall is not your entertainment, it's their lesson. Let it unfold without inserting yourself. Silence, in this phase, is your greatest weapon. When you stay quiet, you starve their need for attention and feed your own healing. Then, journal through the emotions that surface. Watching the cycle of karma can bring unexpected feelings: relief, anger, sadness, even compassion. Writing helps you process them without judgment. It turns inner chaos into clarity. Note what you've learned, what you've let go of, and who you've become. Sometimes the lessons God sends aren't about others falling. They're about you rising into emotional maturity. Journaling helps you capture that growth in real time. Continue your spiritual practices, especially when things seem to shift around you. Pray, meditate, reflect. Speak affirmations of peace over yourself daily. The narcissist's chaos is a sign that their foundation is crumbling. Don't let it shake yours. Stay grounded in the habits that connect you to divine strength. When you feed your spirit, you rise above the noise. You'll notice that even when everything seems turbulent around you, your inner world remains steady. That's the power of spiritual alignment. It anchors you when nothing else can. And finally, focus on your own light. The narcissist's storm isn't your responsibility to fix or witness. Their karma isn't your closure. Your healing is. Redirect your energy toward rebuilding yourself, nurturing your peace, and creating beauty in your life again. The more you focus on your purpose, the less you'll feel drawn to their drama. Staying centered is how you win the quiet war. It's choosing peace over performance, presence over pain. It's realizing that justice is already in motion and you don't have to manage it. You just have to stay aligned with who you've become, calm, grounded, and untouchable. Because when you stand in that kind of peace, nothing the narcissist does can reach you anymore.
It happens slowly, almost quietly, the way dawn replaces night. After everything you've endured, after the lies, the rumors, the isolation, there comes a moment when people start to see. The truth doesn't explode into the world all at once. It unfolds gently, through time, through patterns, through revelation. When others finally begin to see the narcissist for who they really are, it's not because you proved it. It's because truth has a way of revealing itself, piece by piece, in undeniable ways. And in that revelation, something sacred begins to happen. Your reputation starts to heal. For the longest time, you were misunderstood. You tried to explain, to warn, to show others what was really happening, but the narcissist was too charming, too convincing, too skilled at twisting stories. They played the victim while painting you as the problem. And you, already exhausted from surviving their manipulation, didn't have the energy to defend yourself anymore. You went quiet, and that silence was used against you. People believed what they wanted to believe, and it hurt, deeply. But even in that pain, you chose not to fight dirty. You stepped back, trusting that time and truth would eventually align. And now, that moment has arrived. It begins with small shifts. Someone who once avoided you suddenly greets you again. A mutual friend reaches out after months, maybe years of distance. A family member admits they've started to notice things they didn't see before. These are not coincidences. They're signs of restoration. The same people who once doubted you are now seeing cracks in the narcissist's mask.
They witness the same behaviors you tried to describe: the lies, the manipulation, the double standards. And as those cracks widen, so does their understanding of what you went through. This is where the real beauty of divine justice shines. Not in the narcissist's downfall, but in your quiet redemption. You didn't have to destroy anyone's name to rebuild your own. You let truth do what truth always does: rise. People start remembering who you were before the smear campaign: kind, loyal, genuine. They remember your integrity, the way you carried yourself even when you were broken. They recall how you never lashed out, never stooped to the narcissist level. And that memory restores something powerful: respect. As your reputation begins to heal, you'll notice how your energy draws back the right people, those who were meant to be in your life but were temporarily clouded by lies. They return with humility, often saying things like, "I didn't see it before," or "I'm sorry I believed them." And though part of you remembers the pain of their absence, another part of you feels grace, because you've grown. You've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means freeing yourself from resentment. You can allow people back into your circle without reopening old wounds. You can love wisely with boundaries and discernment. At the same time, new connections begin to form. People who see you not through the lens of who you were, but who you've become. They're drawn to your strength, your peace, your authenticity. You attract those who match your healed energy, because you no longer tolerate anything less. The narcissist once isolated you to make you weaker, but God used that isolation to make you stronger, wiser, and more grounded in truth. And now that truth is magnetic. In this season of restoration, community begins to rebuild around you. It's not rushed, it's organic. You start finding your tribe, people who understand your heart, who value honesty, who reflect back the love you've always given. Conversations feel real again. Laughter returns. The heavy silence that once filled your days is replaced by warmth and connection. You realize you're no longer explaining yourself. You're simply being yourself. The world around you adjusts to your authenticity. You might also see justice manifest in unexpected ways. Maybe a person who once believed the narcissist now defends you in public. Maybe someone who spread gossip now corrects it. Or maybe, without a word, people simply stop associating with the narcissist because they've finally experienced the same toxicity you endured. That's divine alignment. Not forced, not orchestrated by you, but naturally unfolding. The same people who once questioned your story now witness it firsthand. This phase is deeply healing because it confirms something your soul already knew. You were never the villain. You were the truth bearer. The lies didn't destroy you, they refined you. You no longer crave validation because you've already validated yourself through endurance. And yet when others start to see the truth, it feels like a gentle exhale, a release of years of tension, misunderstanding, and pain. With that clarity comes a quiet confidence. You start walking differently, speaking differently, not to prove anything, but because you finally remember who you are. The world tried to define you through someone else's distortion, but now your light defines itself. You no longer carry the weight of defending your name. You simply live in alignment with it. Every act of kindness, every boundary, every honest word becomes proof of your integrity. That's how your reputation is restored, not through explanation, but through embodiment. And as your name is rebuilt, something even more powerful unfolds. Your purpose awakens. The very pain that once silenced you becomes the message that helps others heal. You find yourself comforting people who are still where you once were, and your story becomes a roadmap for their strength. What was once your burden becomes your blessing. That's restoration on a divine level, not just reputation, but redemption. Eventually, even the narcissist notices the shift. They see that the energy they once controlled no longer responds to them. Their name loses its shine, while yours quietly rises. But by the time they realize it, you're too far into your piece to care. You're not watching their downfall anymore. You're busy living your new beginning. And that is the ultimate restoration. You've moved from survival to serenity, from proving your truth to living it. So when others finally see, don't focus on what they missed. Focus on what you've gained. The truth didn't just clear your name, it crowned your spirit. It reminded you that real character doesn't need defending. It only needs time. And time, under God's watchful eye, always reveals everything. In the end, the restoration of your reputation isn't loud. It's not a grand vindication or a public announcement. It's subtle, steady, sacred. It's people remembering your heart. It's respect returning. It's community rebuilding around your authenticity. It's you walking in peace, surrounded by those who finally see the truth and realizing you never had to chase it. The truth simply caught up, right on time.
In every story of consequence, there comes a crossroads, a moment where the narcissist stands before two paths, redemption or repeat. It's a quiet, defining moment that rarely anyone sees, but it decides everything that follows. Because when their illusions crumble and the mask finally shatters, they're faced with a truth they can't escape anymore. It was never everyone else. It was them. This moment could be the start of change. Some narcissists, stripped of control, finally see the pattern they've lived in. The silence, the isolation, the loss, it can shake something deep within them. For a few, that pain becomes the first honest mirror they've ever looked into. They may seek help, therapy, or spiritual guidance, not to manipulate others again, but to understand themselves. These rare ones begin to walk the path of redemption, slowly, awkwardly, imperfectly. And if they truly choose humility, the journey can transform them. But even then, it's not your responsibility to wait, to heal them, or to believe in promises that time hasn't yet proven. Because the other path, the far more common one, is repeat. Many narcissists, when faced with their own downfall, choose denial over growth. They rebuild the same illusion somewhere else, with new people, new stories, new victims. They rewrite the narrative, painting themselves as the misunderstood one, the victim of betrayal or envy. It's the cycle starting over, only in a new disguise. The same ego, the same manipulation, wrapped in different words. And unless they choose deep self-awareness, not surface apologies, not spiritual performance, but real accountability, nothing changes. The pain they caused others eventually returns to them, not as punishment, but as a loop they can't escape until they face themselves. That's why it's so important to protect your peace, not your hope. Because your healing doesn't depend on whether they change, it depends on whether you continue walking forward. You can have compassion without contact. You can forgive without returning. You can wish them well without giving them access. True empathy doesn't mean giving someone endless chances to hurt you. It means understanding that their healing is their own responsibility. The truth is, not everyone chooses redemption. Some are so tied to their pride that they'd rather repeat the cycle than admit they need to change. But that's not your burden to carry. You've already done the hardest part, breaking free. You've faced the truth, healed your wounds, and reclaimed your identity. Your story doesn't need to end with their transformation. It ends with your peace. And for those who do seek redemption, understand this. Growth doesn't erase the past, but it can rewrite the future. It begins when they stop performing and start reflecting, when they learn to listen instead of manipulate, to feel instead of deflect, to take responsibility instead of control. But again, their awakening is between them and God. So when you think about the narcissist's fate, whether they'll change or repeat, release the outcome. You don't need closure from them anymore.
Life has already given you clarity through clarity. What matters most now is your path. Stay aligned with peace, grounded in wisdom, and surrounded by people who know love without manipulation. Because in the end, it's not your job to hope they change, it's your calling to protect the peace you fought so hard to find. Redemption or repeat, the choice is theirs. But freedom, that choice was always yours.
Victory doesn't always arrive with trumpets or applause. Sometimes it comes softly, in the stillness of a morning where you wake up without that heaviness on your chest. It's the quiet kind of victory that no one else may notice, but you feel it in your soul. After surviving the emotional storm, after facing betrayal and confusion, your peace has returned. Not the old peace you once had, but a deeper, wiser one. It's calm with roots. It's joy without noise. This is your quiet victory. You start to notice it in the smallest moments. You sleep through the night without replaying old conversations. You wake up without checking your phone, wondering if they've messaged. Your mornings are slower now, sacred. There's a cup of tea in your hand, sunlight on your face, maybe soft music playing in the background. The world feels lighter, not because it changed, but because you did. The grip of their energy is gone, replaced by a steady rhythm of gratitude. Your prayers sound different now, too. They're not filled with tears or pleas for justice. They're peaceful, full of thanks. You thank God not just for removing the narcissist, but for restoring you, for teaching you discernment, for showing you that peace is not something you beg for, it's something you protect. You start to feel your spirit align again with joy, purpose, and divine timing. And in this stillness, something else quietly blooms, your creativity. Maybe you start painting again, writing, singing, or designing. The same passion that once lay buried under emotional exhaustion begins to flow freely. Your energy returns, but it's not frantic, it's inspired. The chaos they brought used to consume your thoughts, but now your focus has shifted inward, toward building, creating, becoming. The narcissist once drained your light, now you're learning to shine it intentionally. You notice that your smile has changed too. It's no longer the polite one you wore to keep peace. It's genuine, effortless. It comes from the relief of no longer walking on eggshells, from knowing your boundaries are firm and your soul is safe. Friends who truly love you begin to notice, "You seem lighter," they say. And they're right. You are. Because healing isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and radiant from within. You might start reconnecting with people you lost during the storm, not because you need them, but because your heart is open again. Real conversations, laughter, and warmth fill the spaces where manipulation used to live. You find comfort in sincerity and realize how precious peaceful connections are. Even your surroundings begin to reflect your growth. Maybe you redecorate your space, light a candle, or bring in fresh flowers. It's symbolic, a new atmosphere for a renewed soul. Everything you touch now carries intention. Every decision is made from clarity, not fear. There's no grand announcement, no revenge arc, no need to prove that you've healed. You simply live. And that, in itself, becomes the loudest statement of all. The narcissist's chaos fades into background noise, while your serenity speaks volumes. This is the beauty of quiet victory. It's not about being seen, it's about feeling whole. You no longer crave validation, you crave peace. You no longer chase closure, you embody it. You've learned that success isn't measured by how many people applaud, but how deeply you can rest at night knowing you're finally free. Your victory looks like this.
peaceful mornings, a journal filled with gratitude, meaningful work that feeds your purpose, and a heart that's light again. You don't need to tell the world you've healed. Your energy already does. And somewhere in the distance, the same people who once doubted you will notice. They'll see the glow in your eyes, the calm in your tone, the confidence in your walk. Not arrogance, alignment. Not revenge, redemption. This is your new chapter, the season where your spirit blooms quietly without needing attention. The narcissist's shadow no longer lingers. It dissolved in the light of your peace. You are whole again, and that wholeness is your greatest comeback. Because in the end, the most powerful victory isn't shouted, it's lived.
It always comes back around, not as punishment, but as reflection. For a long time, the narcissist lived behind a mask, carefully crafted from charm, manipulation, and illusion. They fed on admiration, control, and the energy of others. But eventually, every illusion collapses. What they built on deceit cannot stand forever. And when it does fall, the narcissist is left standing before the one thing they've always avoided, the mirror. In that mirror, there's no audience to manipulate, no admirer to impress, no victim to blame. Just silence, stillness, truth. And for the first time, they are forced to face what they've created. The wreckage of relationships, the hollow victories, the fading sense of control. It doesn't happen all at once. The unraveling is slow, almost poetic. One by one, people begin to step back. Friends they once used for validation stop answering calls. Colleagues see through the charm that once dazzled them. Even the new supply, the person they ran to for attention, begins to recognize the pattern. The narcissist's circle grows smaller, not because others turned cold, but because the mask lost its power. The performance is no longer convincing. They used to thrive on being the center of every story, but now their name carries weight of a different kind. Whispers replace praise. Suspicion replaces admiration. Their credibility fades quietly, the way fog disappears under the morning sun. And the narcissist, once addicted to attention, finds themselves starving for it. It's a strange kind of justice, not loud or vengeful, but deeply natural. Karma doesn't strike, it reveals. The narcissist begins to see the truth they've denied for years, not because someone forces it on them, but because life mirrors it back. Every manipulation they use to control others now turns inward, trapping them in their own mind. Every lie they told becomes a weight they can no longer escape. In that isolation, their greatest fear comes true. They are alone with themselves. There's no one left to project their guilt onto, no one to absorb their chaos. The silence they once forced upon others now echoes back at them. And in that silence, the truth becomes unbearable. But this isn't about revenge, it's about accountability. Life always brings balance. And when you live out of alignment with truth, the imbalance eventually demands correction. The narcissist's loss of influence isn't random, it's consequence. It's the universe restoring order, returning energy to where it belongs. The same charm that once opened doors now rings hollow. The same manipulation that once protected them now isolates them. They might still try to maintain appearances, posting pictures, boasting about success, pretending everything's fine, but behind closed doors, the mirror waits. It shows them the faces of those they hurt, the hearts they broke, the trust they destroyed. It shows them that every empire built on control eventually collapses under the weight of its own deceit. And somewhere deep inside, even they start to feel it, the emptiness they used to outrun, the loneliness that no new admirer can fill, the realization that love can't be taken, only earned. It's a strange kind of awakening, one they'll never admit to anyone, but it lingers, like a shadow that follows wherever they go.
powerful about this moment isn't their suffering, it's the clarity that comes with it. The narcissist finally sees that they were never in control of others, only of their own choices, and those choices, repeated over time, became their reflection. Now they must live with it. This is the true mirror, not a punishment from above, but the natural result of energy returning to its source. Every lie meets truth, every betrayal meets consequence, every illusion meets reality. It's not cruel, it's cleansing. And while you, the one they hurt, have already moved on, healed, grown, reclaimed your peace, they're left standing where they began, surrounded by the fragments of what they built. They see the difference now. Your peace cost you pain, but it brought you freedom. Their control cost them everything and left them empty. No need to gloat. No need to celebrate their downfall. The truth itself is enough. Because in that reflection, the narcissist finally encounters what they've always feared most, themselves. The mirror shows everything they tried to project onto others, the manipulation, the insecurity, the hunger for power. And while they might still resist the lesson for a while, the image won't fade. Life will continue to reflect it until they face it, until they understand that every choice leaves an imprint and every action carries weight. In the end, this moment isn't about destruction, it's about exposure. The narcissist's mirror doesn't exist to shame, it exists to reveal, to show that what you send out will always return, that truth cannot be escaped, and that pretending to be light can never replace becoming it. And maybe, just maybe, in that mirror, after all the denial and deflection, a tiny spark of awareness will rise. Not enough to undo the past, but enough to recognize the pattern. Enough to glimpse the truth that healing begins where illusion ends. So when you think of the narcissist's downfall, remember, it's not about punishment, it's reflection. They are facing what they created, the same way we all must one day. The only difference is you faced your truth and healed. They ran from theirs until the mirror found them.
You've reached the end of this journey. Not just the end of a story, but the closing of a painful chapter in your life. Everything you went through, every tear, every unanswered question, every lonely night, it all served a divine purpose. You didn't go through it to stay broken. You went through it to rise stronger, wiser, and closer to God. This is the moment to gather everything you've learned and step forward with faith, with boundaries, and with peace that can't be shaken. Let's start with faith, the kind that anchors you when life doesn't make sense, the kind that whispers, God is working, even when I can't see it. Your healing wasn't random. Every delay, every betrayal, every painful ending was orchestrated by divine timing. You prayed, and heaven listened, maybe not in the way you expected, but in the way that saved you. You were removed from situations that would have destroyed you. You were shielded from people who couldn't handle your light. And now, standing here in your new beginning, you can see that God never abandoned you. He was protecting you the whole time. Faith now becomes your foundation, not your fallback. It's what keeps you steady when the world tries to pull you back into fear or doubt. When the narcissist's energy tries to reappear through memories, dreams, or guilt, remember, you are not who you used to be. You're not the person who begged to be understood or who tried to fix what wasn't yours to fix. You're the person who trusted God enough to walk away. Keep nurturing that trust. Pray daily, not from desperation, but from gratitude. Let your conversations with God be honest, raw, and real. Prayer isn't about begging for things to change. It's about aligning your heart with His peace. Then there are boundaries, your sacred protection. Think of them as the spiritual armor that guards your newfound peace. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They're gates that decide what energy gets in. After dealing with a narcissist, you've learned that not everyone who smiles is safe. Not everyone who apologizes has changed. Boundaries remind you that discernment is not cruelty, it's wisdom. You can forgive someone and still say no. You can love from a distance and still walk in peace. Setting boundaries doesn't make you hard, it makes you whole. It's a declaration that your spirit is no longer a battlefield for someone else's chaos. Stay firm in them. Don't explain or justify your peace to anyone who doesn't respect it. The right people won't make you question your limits, they'll honor them. Remember, what you allow is what continues, so protect your space like the sanctuary it is. You fought too hard to reclaim it to let confusion enter again. Now, seek community support. Healing doesn't have to be a lonely road. Find people who understand, not because they pity you, but because they've walked through fire too and found light on the other side. Surround yourself with those who speak life into you, who remind you of your worth when you forget, who celebrate your growth without jealousy. Whether it's a faith group, close friends, or an online community of survivors, connection is how you rebuild your sense of safety and belonging. In healthy community, you learn that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength shared. You'll see reflections of yourself in other stories, and that brings deep comfort. You'll realize that your pain wasn't an ending, it was an initiation into deeper wisdom. You'll feel the strength that comes when broken people come together and decide to rise anyway. As you move forward, hold on to one truth. The story isn't over. What happened to you is not the headline of your life, it's the prologue to something greater. The lessons you've learned, the compassion you've developed, the strength you've built, these are the treasures you carry into your next season. You no longer walk as a victim, you walk as a vessel of wisdom. The things that once drained you will now fuel your purpose. Let this be your daily affirmation. I am protected, I am guided, I am free. No weapon formed against my peace will prosper. My past no longer defines me, my faith does. I walk in light, and everything meant to harm me has turned into my growth. And if you ever find yourself wavering, return to this verse, one that speaks to resilience and divine protection. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Be still, not passive, but peaceful. Trust that justice, healing, and restoration are already in motion. You don't have to chase closure, it will find you. You don't have to explain your boundaries, they'll speak for you. You don't have to prove your worth, you already embody it. From this moment on, your task is simple but sacred. Pray, protect, and progress. Pray for strength, not revenge. Protect your peace, not your image. Progress toward the life God is leading you to, the one filled with meaning, love, and calm. You've made it through what was meant to destroy you. Now step into the light of what's meant to restore you. Keep walking forward, softly, faithfully, powerfully, knowing that your story is no longer one of pain, but of purpose. Because the final truth is this: God heard you then, and He still hears you now. The storm wasn't the end, it was the beginning of your awakening. And from here on, every step you take will echo with strength, peace, and divine victory.